Yes, okay, plushies made me hard. Emphasis on made, M-A-D-E, past tense, okay? It doesn't really happen anymore. I'm gonna get into that. Just sit tight, okay? This goes way back to when I was a little kid, alright? When I was little, I had a ton of stuffed animals, bro. Every single night, I'd sleep with a teddy bear. I had this, like, camouflaged theme Build-A-Bear that I got when I was, like, 5 years old from the mall. I literally remember sitting in the back seat, holding this thing and loving it to bits. I was eating a lollipop. It was beautiful. Now, I do want to mention, at this young of an age, I didn't quite experience this sort of plushy pecker thing yet, okay? I developed that later in life. Look, I grew up with loads of stuffed animals, okay? Literally every single night, I'd snuggle with a stuffed animal. I'd wake up every single morning and be surrounded by them. They were all over my room. They were in my closet. All of my siblings had them. And then all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, one day I just decided I gotta get rid of these. I gotta get rid of all of them. I was becoming a man or whatever, you know, and I didn't need them, okay? Plushies for sissies, okay, dude? Comfort is for girls, bro. I don't freaking know. I gave them all away to either family friends or I just sold them. Literally everything, including like those like super crazy rare Beanie Babies that I could have probably sold for hundreds of dollars, but didn't. You know, I was a really smart kid, okay? I think that happened when I was maybe about 10 or 11 when I got rid of all of them. And that was the major turning point for this story of mine, because all of a sudden stuff started to get serious. Listen, okay? I've mentioned in basically like every single one of my videos at least once that I'm hashtag touch starved and emo or whatever, okay? Not to bore you with the details, but look, I went years without much physical contact at all. Specifically, physical contact of the affectionate variety, okay? After all of those years of just, you know, not being touched in a meaningful way whatsoever, I just became sort of an oversensitive mess, okay? Basically, any amount of genuine affection can give me a lethal dose of euphoria and practically just kill me, okay? I've made like countless videos talking about this exact thing. I have too many anecdotes to cover in a single video where someone will compliment me or they will pat me on the back or they will touch my shoulder. I freaking love it. Look, it's a great feeling. It's a great positive feeling, but it shuts off my freaking brain, dude, and I don't know how to respond, and I just start freaking tweaking out, man. It's wild. And honestly, I think that, you know, plushies, okay, were one of the only things that were keeping me from realizing that, you know, affection can just freaking kill me, okay? It was acting as like a little bit of an alleviator, you know, for my desire for affection. You know, and it made me never even realize that I had the desire in the first place, because it was kind of the one thing that was keeping me afloat for so many years, okay? Once I hit puberty, though, stuff started to take a bit of a turn for the worst, I'm gonna be honest, okay? And I started to notice that desire. I started to notice that, you know, affection is kind of something that people need in order to function as human beings, okay? And so, you know, I started to feel all antsy, you know, wishing I could just go home and lay in bed. I started snuggling with a blanket and pretending it was one of my favorite fictional characters or something like that. And I never really understood why. In fact, I was kind of, you know, weirded out by the fact that I was doing that, but yeah, I still felt the innate urge to continue, you know? You know, at the time when I started doing this, I must have been maybe a sophomore in high school, so either 15 or 16 years old. So it was weird to me, you know? It was like, on one hand, I felt like, yes, like this makes me feel really happy and everything, but at the same time, I felt like, shoot, man, like I'd probably get bullied for this if I even mentioned the fact that I hugged a blanket while I fell asleep, dude. Like, I don't know. I'll tell you what though, okay? The feeling of pure joy that I got from snuggling with a formless blanket was just so much for me, bro. It was too much for me. And it got to the point where all of that freaking happiness would just make me involuntarily sneeze. Like, that is the extent to which this type of stuff goes. I was a mess, a wreck even, bro. Like, that stuff would freaking happen to me for some reason. And I even made a video about it if you're more interested on that in particular. I go into a lot more detail, probably more detail than there needs to be. But, you know, look, it's all fun and games, right? Still, though, even though I experienced so much joy and happiness from hugging a blanket, I just knew that it wasn't real, okay? It was a blanket, all right? So it's like, it went to a certain extent. Okay, there was a certain point where I kind of just snapped back to reality, and it kind of just made me depressed or whatever, because I was like, dude, you know, I could be snuggling with a real life person, but instead I'm stuck in bed with a freaking blanket, bro, pretending that it's a person, and that crap made me miserable. So, you know, years went by, okay? I started to feel super ashamed about the blanket thing, so I honestly just kind of stopped. I graduated from high school, started going to college, and of course, I felt super depressed. Grown man feeling sad, by the way, in the big 26, can you believe it? That's crazy, dude. I was so lonely. I was so lonely and depressed, and I started listening to emo music, and I started feeling so terrible. Oh my gosh. Dude, I just wanted someone to hold me, or I wanted to hold someone else. That's all I freaking wanted. And it's like, at the same time, just the thought of that was so overwhelming, and it made me feel so freaking terrible. Like, it made me feel so like overstimulated, and I just needed to stim, dude, before I let the urges take over. Might be overreacting, whatever. Listen though, what was I to do, okay? I went to college for a full 2 years, wishing and waiting that the feeling would just go away, okay? And spoiler alert, it didn't go away. I still didn't even really understand what that feeling was. I kind of just, you know, got this urge to lay in bed and be with somebody, and then I'd feel super freaking depressed about it. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I was being pumped full of copium 24/7, trying to convince myself that it was a phase or something, or that it was like a byproduct of something else. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really know. Like, maybe I was just being a freaking loser, you know? It's something that a few hours in the gym wouldn't fix, right? Well, okay, it didn't fix it, by the way, in case you were wondering. But yeah, I just didn't understand the feeling at all. It was so freaking weird to me, man. And after those first 2 years of college, I worked a summer job. I had some big self-discovery thoughts that made me realize just exactly what I was missing, okay? And that thing was intimacy. I don't know why it took me this freaking long to realize this. It took me all of my teen years to realize that whoop-de-doo, you're a human being and you probably need to be intimate with someone, or else you're going to want to freaking kill yourself, okay? You see, all these feelings, they kind of built up, okay? And I made the calculated decision to do something I hadn't done since I was a little kid, which was buy a teddy bear. Not just any teddy bear though, okay? I went out of my way to buy a camo teddy bear, a camo Build-A-Bear. Those things are discontinued now, by the way. I tried to go to the mall and get one, but they didn't have them. So I had to get one off of like Etsy or something. That was one of the only places I could find it. Or it was eBay or something. I don't really remember. One of the two. Dude, it was such a painful experience though, because I remember specifically mentioning it. I had to bring it up to my sister, because here's the thing. If I'm going to get something mailed to my house, I want people to like know that it's coming, so that way I don't feel extra embarrassed when it actually does arrive, okay? Because then what's going to happen is they're going to open it up without my permission, then they're going to walk into my room and they're going to be like, ah, my little sissy brother just got a teddy bear. Look at him, what a little loser trying to get comfort. I don't freaking know. Okay, I didn't want to be ridiculed by my family members, which is a thing that happens relatively frequently. So, you know, I just didn't want that to happen. So I told my sister about it. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing to tell her it, dude. And to buy it, and then for her to walk into my room and hand it to me, it was so embarrassing. Everything was so painful, man. But look, okay, a week went by, all right? I was counting down the days for this thing to arrive. Oh man, dude, it got me salivating just fantasizing about it, dude. I could not wait to freaking get it in my arms, bro. When it finally did arrive in the mail, my sister came in my room, handed it to me. I made sure the door was 100% closed. I went back into bed, and I just hugged the thing. And oh my goodness, what an incredible feeling, okay? In addition to feeling like super happy, like crazy amounts of euphoria that I had never experienced, I also was given a free one-way ticket to Boner Town, baby! Woohoo! Dude, I was so freaking bricked out of my mind. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it, man. And this was like a very new feeling for me, man. Like, this is something I had never experienced before, dude. Okay? I had never experienced it when I had plushies when I was younger. It was so, like, unique and different, and I didn't know how to freaking process it all. But, you know, look, in addition to feeling super great about myself, I also felt terrible about myself because, you know, all I wanted to do was snuggle with my stuffy, alright? But then I'd get bricked up to the freaking ceiling. It made me feel incredibly dysphoric because I wasn't trying to do anything to my stuffed animal, dude. I wasn't trying to do anything to my freaking Build-A-Bear. I didn't want to do anything to my Build-A-Bear. I wasn't fantasizing about doing anything to my Build-A-Bear, and I never freaking will, okay? It was just like this constant feeling of just pure contempt. Like, why is this freaking happening, man? I don't want to do that. Why are you freaking... Like, why does my body think it's time to do that, man? It's not. I hated it, bro. It's like, yes, it was such an intense feeling. It was such an intense feeling all over my entire body. It was warm and fuzzy. It made me feel like actually loved for once, even if it was by an inanimate object, okay? But at the same time, it hurt a lot, man, both emotionally and physically, okay? Like, dude, it actually hurt so freaking much down there. Oh my gosh. Still, despite the pain that I was experiencing, I stuck with it in hopes that maybe it would just go away, okay? And guess what? Eventually, it did, okay? Keep in mind, the story that I'm telling, this all sort of started like a year ago. It took a year for all of this stuff to really take effect. It just stopped happening for the most part. Like, I admit, it still happens occasionally where, you know, I might get hard a little bit, okay? But it isn't as intense, and it only lasts for maybe like a minute or so, which is a massive improvement as opposed to how it was way back then, because I'd be sitting there for hours and it would not go away, man. But dude, now it's working, dude. The exposure therapy is working. Dude, at this rate, I'll be good as new in no time. Woohoo! Bro, it's freaking wonderful how it's just working like that, man. I mean, look, come to think of it, okay? This is kind of a really weird analogy, but I like to think of it sort of like erectile dysfunction, bro. Except it's a lot more like concentrated. It's like my body is actively learning that not all touch is a chance to get a bit of that plushy play, you feel me? It's really interesting to think about it like that. There are so many other things that elicit the same bodily response from me. You know what I'm saying? I'm realizing, dude, this could work. Like, I could apply this to so many other things in my life. I might just never have to worry about them ever again. And that's honestly like an amazing like thought, you know what I mean? Today, I have a bunch of stuffed animals again, all right? I said earlier I sold all of my old ones. Well, dude, I'm starting to repopulate my bed again. I'm getting them, all right? I'm working on it. I'm getting those gains, bro. And you know, I've made a bit of a realization too. This is kind of funny, but like every time I get a new stuffed animal, I'm more likely to get an erection from it, which is like really freaking weird. However, I will say that even that has been going away over time. I have this really like massive like jumbo teddy bear I got from CVS while hanging out with my friends on New Year's Day at like nighttime. We were just like walking around town and we went into this CVS and they had it because of like Valentine's Day. I don't know why it was on the shelf so early, but whatever. I got the thing for like $30, but it's freaking amazing, dude. I sleep with it like every single night and it has been doing me wonders, man. Oh my goodness. When I first got it, I had the exact same reaction for a bit longer because of two things. Because number one, it was newer, and number two, because that was the first plushie I had ever had that was, you know, that freaking human size, bro. It's insane, all right? But in a few weeks, okay, it just went away completely, all right? Now it basically doesn't even happen anymore. I mean, maybe it happens like once a month, which is an amazing improvement as opposed to it happening every single night, you know? I remember last year, if I were to have this exact same plushie, it would have been 10 times worse, and I probably would have not been able to live with myself. And it's like, everything is just working out for me, man. Oh my gosh, it's just so perfect for me, and everything is just going my way. okay? But whatever, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, bro. Anywho, though, I don't really got anything else to say. Moral of the story. Let me think. If you be getting hard, snuggling with your plushies, hang in there, bro. We go and get through it, bro. Okay? You especially, you can get through it, all right? Look, it took me an entire year just to get this far. All right, and I'm still not all the way through my freaking teddy tension recovery journey, all right? But I'm getting there, and I'm seeing major improvements, and it feels like I'm actually going to recover, bro. Like, it's crazy. I might actually be a normal person one of these days. This is wild. Well, whatever. Okay, anywho, though, I just gotta mention that I have a Discord server now. If you want to join in, I totally recommend it. It'll be a blast. Come chat with me. Come chat with other people. We got a loving and or accepting community. It's beautiful. Also, look here. We got Gato Fingla fan art. This stuff is awesome, dude. Oh my gosh, bro. It's like no matter what, we never run out of this stuff, bro. It's a never-ending train of happiness, dude. Oh my gosh, I love it. Last but not least, I also want to mention that I have a channel membership. It's $5 a month. You don't got to do it if you don't want to. I'm just throwing it out there if you feel like you want to support me. If this is the first video you've watched from me, definitely do not feel like you're obligated to give me money. You know, I'm just putting it out there if you feel like it, okay? But yeah, thank you very much for embarking on this little journey with me, and I suppose I shall see y'all in the next one. Bye! Hey, shout out to my sneeze fetish folks out there, bro. I know y'all got it rough. The oppression is crazy.